right, again, thank you for everybody. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for viewing. Thanks for your support again. Um, to another live session, but we won't have anybody. I won't be doing any live energy readings tonight, but I will have a recording of a Reiki session, so people can have some idea. I keep talking about them, but it's kind of hard to explain. So I have one that I recorded so that you have an opportunity to view it. So first thing I want to do is update it. Well, not update everybody. Um, we all been talking about, well, not we all, but we've been discussing healing and healing process. And I told you I feel as though I'm moving out of my career healing process and more into relational. So I mentioned, one of my main goals for myself career wise was to go into consulting. And I had applied for a company several times in my career. And it's the one where I told everybody, but I cried in the interview. So, well, that job is official. I guess the tears in the interview didn't scare them away. So I will now be a grantee specialist for Region 4 for the organization of ICF. And grantee specialist pretty much means I will be supporting Head Starts, early Head Starts, well, just Head Start grantees, Head Start organizations through training and technical assistance and, just things of that nature. And I say it's only 8 states because the last time I was consulting, it was national, but so Kentucky, Alabama, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Mississippi, something like that. Tennessee, those would be the states I'm over, and I'm excited, ready to, well, not over, but those would be the states I'll be supporting. And I'm excited. So, with that going on, I have to assess how I got the little bow tie. Seems like I'm twisting it up, messing it up. What you think? Listen, I bought this bow tie so long ago, and I have yet. This is my first time wearing this bow tie. Thank you, Toya. Yeah, I ain't even gonna lie. I really was nervous. Crying in the interview. That's a wild thing. But as funny, something about that. So in discussing how I feel, I remember mentioning last week and week before I was feeling all emotional and all that. But what I'm realizing is, man, I think I'm really getting back in touch with pieces of myself that I had left behind. And one thing about myself is I've always been a sensitive person. When I was a kid, I cried all the time, and the other thing I did was fight all the time. And if I started crying, we were gonna fight. So I think feeling those emotions and being vulnerable enough to cry at things that used to affect my emotions and allowing myself to have tears of joy, tears of sadness is a weird feeling that I'm learning to cope with in this process. But as far as career, I'm excited. I'm excited. So I don't know how that's going to change the show or anything, but I do still plan on coming on live and you know, same. I think most of my day will be done definitely by the time I normally go live. And what else I was gonna say? So, and I'll be in the same time zone, so we won't have to worry about time zone issues that mess things up. So, um, thanks. And of course, I'll make content, and probably my content gonna change a little bit because one thing about me is I love food. So everywhere I go, I'm definitely gonna eat, and I share with y'all. And food is it's so passionate, it's sexy, it's delightful. It arouses my senses. It does everything, and it's funny because I cook too. So people think that cooking is the therapeutic part for me, but it's not. It's eating. I love eating. Man, a well-made dish Listen, I love eating. So that's gonna be more of what's coming up. So ultimately, I have been still focusing on the relational aspect of my move this keyboard out the way so I can on the relational aspect of my healing. And I mentioned before that I'm in a men's group and we meet on Mondays. And last week we had a discussion, and one of the questions that was asked was, for men specifically, because it's a men's group, of course. Excuse me. It was, when do we get to the point where our feelings matter? And this was a good question for us in the men's group because we're all trying to be better men, whatever that may be, and heal the child and the man in us. So, previously, a lot of times in my life as men, we don't always convey. Like people say, we don't always convey our thoughts, our feelings, the things that are really going on with us. So for me, when he asked that question, I had to really think about it in two different categories. I had to think about it as far as friendships and then dating. So in friend and it's wild because it's kind of similar but not. In friendships, um I am not always quick to say how I feel. As much as people think I say how I feel, I am very good at communicating my thoughts, but not always as good at communicating my feelings. So, when it comes to friendships and they do things that may arouse, create sort of feelings or emotions in me, I don't always say that, even though I may act on it. And but the thing about it, friendships do a lot of times provide a safer place for me to take that risk and take that chance. And I'm more likely to try to take that chance, communicate my feelings in relationships than in dating. And but for the most part, um, feelings and friendships matter when I am my feelings and friendships matter a lot of times when I am at my wits end, or you know what I mean. And a lot of times that causes me to shut down in certain ways, or disappear, or stuff like that. I need time and space to rejuvenate or something like that. So um, that was a very difficult question for me because I have to think about how can I grow and change from that in friendships, right? And I think that still falls aligned with the creating boundaries and fears and all of those things. You know what I mean? Comes into play. And but then when I thought about dating, I had to break dating down into. I probably should have broke career down into. Friendships down into career and personal friendships because career is very different. I approach that the people I make friendships with in career wise, a lot of times I'll let them get away with way more than I let anyone get away with. And that's probably because a lot of times I'm in a leadership position. So if I make a friendship with that person at that job, I'm more likely to treat it like a teacher type of situation instead of a situation where I'm deciding on if it's healthy or good for myself. Um, but when I thought about dating, I broke it down into courtship and in the actual relationship. And this is one that's going to take me a little longer to process. Courting, I've thought about that because when I think about my dating life, I want to date a little different. And one of the things that in the courting process, man, really, I feel like, really just genuinely and honest, I feel like in the courting process, um, I can't tell you when my feelings begin to matter. You know what I mean? I think my thoughts matter, and the only way that I think in the courting process is if my feelings matter is if I put them on Front Street. Like I gotta be like, yo, you gotta think about this or what about me? You know what I mean? Because most of the time in the courtship stage, for me as a man, women are in a position to judge if his effort is enough, if his conversation is enough, if his personality is enough. So we as men are, speaking for myself, as a man, I'm always in the position of, although it may not necessarily be the intentions, I'm in a position of proving. And then when I had the issue with creating boundaries, it's hard to, it winds up being me giving, but I haven't necessarily stood up for myself to also receive, or, you know what I mean? Now, I will communicate what I do like, what I want. I give people the opportunity to learn me, all those things. But in the courtship, I think about my feelings don't probably really matter until she sees me as relationship material. You know what I mean? And that's not me saying if it's most women, all women, anything. That's just me talking about my dating experience. You know what I mean? And in dating different, I definitely want to experience or make sure that I'm choosing women who believe that my feelings matter day one, just as much as theirs. I want them to feel as though it's an even exchange. And now in relationships, that's a tough one. So in relationships, I feel like my feelings really matter when, again, when I'm at my wit's end. Um, it'll have to be one of those times where, it's just a behavior that I'm tired of and I can't take it anymore. And then I finally speak up, you know what I mean? And sometimes it's inappropriate, right? Well, it used to be because I worked on inappropriate times and worked on, you know what I mean, showing it in appropriate ways. So I definitely have, and my showing it in appropriate ways is within a box and a boundary. So there are a lot of ways that I didn't, or you wouldn't have to worry about me showing it. But I'm just talking about making sure I communicate it effectively when I say showing it in the proper ways. But I feel like they really don't matter, and it's wild because a lot of times in relationships I've been in a position of teacher again, and it's relationships, but it's hard to explain it in a position of teacher, but it's hard to teach people who know as much as you as well, or maybe they don't want to know, or maybe it creates certain feelings. I'm not sure, you know what I mean? That's just one thing that I definitely wanted to talk to you all as I'm working out my relationships ideas. I'm sharing it with you just in case you something resonates with you. Now, I also started with, because of that question, when do we get to the point where our feelings matter? I also started looking at myself and changes. How have I changed over the years where this question would be answered differently? And I think about times where people vocally told me I'm very different, very different. And it's wild because as I think back and I look back and I do the assessment, it's kind of like I relate it to like when I was growing dreads or growing locks for the most part. When they first started growing, man, I could never tell that my locks were actually growing. Somebody else had to be like, your hair getting long. But me looking at them every day, I couldn't tell how much I had changed. You know what I mean? So I guess this is one of the benefits of making my healing, exposing my healing, so people can positive reinforce some of the changes or let me know about some of the things that um they can see changing in me. So I remember, like I spoke about it before. I remember when I came back from Milwaukee, I sat with one of my friend's fathers, and he just looked at me. He was like, "Peanut, you different." And I knew I was very much different, but I didn't necessarily know how. And I don't think he could communicate it. And now that I'm so far from that period, I can look back on it and think about how did Milwaukee change me? And it did change me a lot. I'm sure I probably came back with a little, for lack of better words, and this not to make it light, you know what I mean, of the actual condition that people experience. But I'm sure I came back with a little PTSD, for lack of better words, because I had never experienced racism like that. And the most racist place I've ever been in my life is Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The state of Wisconsin together. I mean, all over, but I ain't go all over the state. I only went to Green Bay, and that was at night. I ain't make no stops, and I pretty much was all around Milwaukee. So that's Kenosha, Waukesha, stuff like that. You know what I mean? So, and I mean, it's races where, right here, like even here, you gotta at least ride around to be suspicious a little bit. But as soon as they see your black face, you get pulled over. Like literally, I remember the first time I got my car and I drove through town. Soon as I got out of Milwaukee city limits, soon as I hit that line, they sent me whoop whoop. They pulled me over. So I'm sure I came back with a little PTSD. And when I came back from Milwaukee, if you've ever experienced a master's program, yeah, I was tired. And I'm sure that tired energy probably made my friend's father think I was a little bit defeated. But I wasn't defeated. I was just worn out. You know what I mean? It took a lot of emotional energy and a lot of intellectual energy to complete the master's program. And then I also wound up meeting a woman that I wanted to marry at one point in Milwaukee. So, and I also got chased down the street, which was wild in Milwaukee, my girl. So Milwaukee was just a lot of stuff. But and ironically, through all that, I still love Milwaukee, man. Top 5 places, best food, love their food, which is crazy. So, and then today I was speaking with my mother. And I guess it kind of set in because this would probably be the third time I've heard something about how different I seem since I've started this healing journey. And my mom was like, "Yo, your energy is a lot better, and you just everything it just seems different." You know what I mean? And when I think about that, I have to think about the first person who told me something is different about me since I started the healing. And they told me I seem free. And I was like, okay, well, cool. And I remember I told y'all that I almost argued with them at first, but then I had to think about it, that I am free. That freedom just came through loss. So it's hard to see that I got that freedom. It took the death of my father and it took the death of my career to give me the death of my career that up until that point to give me the freedom that I carry now, right? And then the energy thing is changing because I guess I'm becoming a little more comfortable with accepting what I can and cannot do. You know what I mean? I really was a person that was raised to believe, and in some aspects, I still believe I can do anything. You know what I mean? But in some aspects of life, that can be a difficult energy to deal with, and it lets me. And this is my perfect example. And it came up last night because one of the men in the group were dealing with a similar issue. I remember speaking to y'all about my, and it's funny, it was my first time ever really saying it, but my ex fiance. And I remember when we were um, breaking up, she told me one of my issues, and I really took that to heart. She said, "Well, one of your problems is," she was like, "Yo, you got to let me make my own mistakes." You know what I mean? She was like, I love you. I know I'm probably going to regret this the rest of my life, but you got to let me make my own mistakes. And I understood that, but last night meeting wound up putting some icing on the cake on how a person could feel in a situation. So my issue is when I love you and I care for you, I don't want you to fall. I'm gonna be like, yo, if I made the mistake, I'm not gonna let you make the mistake. And I done made a lot of mistakes. This gray hair is each one came from a mistake. So I made a lot of mistakes and I can get a little overzealous for people I love and care for if they are about to make one of the mistakes. This is driving me crazy, so I hope this. You see, I keep bothering it. I don't know. Maybe I need to loosen it up or something, but I'll worry about it. Like I said, it's my first time wearing this tie, but I can get a little overzealous in trying to protect them from making that mistake. And one of the brothers, while we were having the meeting, he said something that was very powerful. And although, I talked about it, although I had good intentions, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. He said what that dynamic can wind up doing is smothering the love out of people because you really wind up creating an atmosphere where they don't feel free to be themselves. You know what I mean? And you really don't see that because your intentions are good, or you want to protect them from making these mistakes because their mistakes might actually affect you, and a lot of times they do. A lot of times they do, especially if you are in a relationship, so you have a stake in their successes or failures because they definitely will affect you. You know what I mean? But and the difference between now, so I'm glad he said it's mother love. The difference between now, my spirit is different in the sense that I know what I know. I let people know, but I give people the space to be who they are, make the mistakes they are, and 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 hope that they allow the same for me. And then I also decided that I I will then just have to make decisions on if the effects of their choices are too harmful for me, then I have to make a decision on what will be best for me. And that doesn't necessarily mean leave the person or anything like that. That's a case by case situation. And I tell you what, man, listen, if we get to the point of committing to each other, I don't like to break up. You know what I mean? So I be getting broken up with. I ain't even finna front with you. I probably I can't even say how many girlfriends I broke up with, but not many. Oh God. And then hey, Liberty, I'm glad that you can be on. I know you having a family emergency, and I want to make sure you know that we are sending you good energy, and uh, and I'm sending you good vibes, and I hope everything works out for the best for yourself and your family. That's a side note. One of my um, viewers is having a family situation right now, and I want to make sure I acknowledge it, you know, and let them know that I'm giving them good vibes. Yeah. So comment says that's one. I'm still gonna figure out how to put these comments on the screen. Comment says that's one of the highest forms of love, giving the person the freedom to be themselves. See, but the thing about that is that is true, but it's always sometimes it's hard to see that past your intentions. You know what I mean? You may have the best intentions, and you don't see how you're blocking their freedom. You feel like you're giving them advice or you're trying to help them or something else. You think you're doing something else other than creating a box for them. You know what I mean? And well, I'm glad you on the side note, I'm glad you make it too, because we're gonna play your video. So, excuse me. Liberty is the one who allowed me to record her session, and that's what we're going to watch in a few. I'm just going to talk about two tools that I feel like I have to allow myself to. Well, one tool I have to allow myself to be more comfortable with stating and using, and one that I've been working on and I'm proud of, where I'm starting to draw boundaries for myself as far as when it comes to relationships. So one new tool I decided, well, I'm allowing myself to become comfortable with, is to be judgmental. So when it came to dating and dating women, or I can be picky, I can be choosy, but I never really want to be judgmental. I want to be fair. So, like for example, I would apply my understanding in my situation to a lot of people and find myself trying to be fair when I really need to be judgmental. So my family is interesting. You know what I mean? Most of the men in my family went to jail. The women, yeah, we live. I ain't even gonna lie. I love them. Listen, on my mom's side, most of the men went to jail. On my pop's side, it ain't like that. We got a lot of girls on my pop's side, but both sides of my family is lit. They both really from the country, cause my mom's people from, it ain't so small now, but if you know a city, hey, I'm sorry. One of the comments say, "Hey, boss man," and hey, listen, this is one of my favorite staff members. I'll never forget when she first started working for me or working with me in. I'm sorry, it's a side story, and I'm gonna lose track. She started working with me at one of my furthest sites in, oh my God, in Smallsville, North Carolina, is the smallest town I ever been to in North Carolina. And I never forget, man, if you don't know what CACFP is, I'm gonna tell you. Child Care Adult and Food Care, the Child and Adult Food Care Program, CACFP. So this is where like adult care facilities, child care facilities can apply to work with them and get a refund on some of their food expenses, right? So she was my cook, and the hardest thing about doing a CACFP report is the milk. That milk report is the devil. So I ain't know what I was doing. She ain't know what she was doing. We just in there trying to figure it out and hoping neither one of us lose our job on the next day over some milk. Oh my God. So if you dealing with CACFP, the easiest way to deal with milk, because milk is going to be your problem. I don't know, it doesn't matter. Milk is going to be your problem. Easiest way to deal with milk, if you can, is just buy them individual cartons of milk like school. Now, you're going to have a whole bunch of it, and you're going to have to wrap your mind around how much of it you throw away. She laughing now because she know we were scared to death. You're going to have to wrap your mind around how much of it you actually throw away. But listen, get them cartons. You messing with them jugs, you gonna be wondering if you're gonna lose your job every week unless you wind up getting you an expert at CACFP. That thing was interesting. So okay, the new tools. I'm gonna allow myself to be judgmental. An example I will give is, I was saying how my family is lit. You know what I mean? And in spite of some of the things, we still were able to achieve certain levels of success, and I'm thankful for that. So when I meet people and I know the potentials and the possibilities, when people have interesting families, I don't always use that as, I'm never judgmental on that. You know what I mean? I remember I even dated a girl one time. Her mama was the dope lady. So, and it was interesting. I dated a girl. Her mama had the liquor house. It's just been, yeah. Because I want to be fair. You know what I mean? Because an individual isn't necessarily, their family doesn't always represent who they are, or it's just a piece of them. So I wouldn't ever want to rule anybody out from that. But now I'm allowing myself to be judgmental in the sense that I do need to be a little more judgmental on what I decide as good for me to date. Because in those situations, we can be great friends, have great relationships, and things like that, and I'm cool with that. That's gonna be fantastic. But as far as dating long term and trying to start a family or a marriage, something like that, those dynamics might not be good for me, and I have to be okay with being judgmental. So now, I want to talk about a part where I'm kind of proud of myself because ever since that when I almost had me a new roommate, uh, um, I've been really intentional about drawing boundaries early. So I feel like if I, at this point in my healing, I do take assessments on how much I give. I've given a lot. Like if I feel like I've given enough to start off, I definitely start assessing if I'm getting something in return. And I never really looked at it like that. You know what I mean? So, but that's how I have to make sure that I'm receiving that reciprocity that I actually want from relationships. You know what I mean? So, and my example is I was, I was with somebody. They was like, "Well, why don't you cook for me?" You know what my reply was? It's your turn. I done did enough. And I'm proud of myself for that because normally I'm like, all right, cool, I'll cook for you. I do a little bit more, thinking that I'll get to a point and they'll be like, he's done a lot. Let me do something for him. That point doesn't come, or it comes way too late, or it definitely is hella infrequent. I can promise you that. It's very infrequent. So that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about tonight. And now I am going to, all right, I'm going to do the voiceover for this video because I didn't, I didn't turn the music down a little bit so I know y'all can hear it. But I didn't do a voiceover for the video because I was using the video for a lot of different things. So Um, pretty much everything got its own individual voiceover, so they are all a little bit different. If you follow me on all my sites, they posted today with a clip of it posted today. But yeah, so no voiceover. You're just gonna have to deal with me talking. Enjoy. Boo, boo, boo. And this again is my friend Liberty, and this is actually her second Reiki session. And I definitely want to give her props because she came into this one with her mind made up on trying to release some things. And she definitely had the opportunity to do that. And I'm happy for her, 100% happy for her on that because I know what that feels like. And yeah, so you get to see some of what happens when you do a Reiki session. So I actually cut off the part where I took the hot bait because my head was cut off. And you see me walking around with my rain stick. I told you before I try to make sure I use sound waves to set the energy tone and help with the healing process. One, because I'm a Pisces and a water sign, and I like things that move in waves and not necessarily rays all the time. I like waves, so water stuff. So I use my rain stick. That's what that big black thing is. That is a beautiful rain stick too. I love it. And the wild thing, I got that rain stick from a guitar store. I'm like, what? Guitar? but I guess they should have percussions in there. And then a lot of times I would also use my wave drums, but I didn't use them today. I didn't use them today. Or I use my ukulele too, because I got the uke for that, but I can't play songs yet. So in this process, I allow the person to pick a sage if they would like to be sage. We got a couple of different items I've showed you. I think the only new one I have now is cleanse and rejuvenate, and I think but that was balance and something. Oh, I forget. I got so many. Well, not so many, but I forget. So we definitely take a little time to cleanse the energy, and I definitely make sure my windows are open and all that stuff. So any of the energy that we want to get rid of has a way to get rid of. So I'm laughing because you're gonna see this moment happen a lot with her. And this is a perfect example of people when they're allowing or learning to let go. It winds up being a little bit of a fight because they're used to doing their own choices, like just to let go and allow somebody to make choices for you and do things for you and stuff like that. That's it's a wild situation. So a couple of times you will see her natural instinct of protection to pop out. But like I said, she came in with the intentions on letting go, so she didn't fight too hard, as you can tell. And I appreciate her. And then of course, depending on how we doing, since it's just her, I want to make sure that I'm carrying the same energy, so I allow her to sage me too. And the whole time, I do have a playlist playing. It's various music that I have. That's some on the healing frequency is very intentional. Some to allow you to go within. Some to allow you to appreciate the external. Some that hype your energy up. Something like that. So, but it's nothing weird. I did add a little bit of that new Drake because he playing the flute. But I don't know, something about the more I listen to it, I don't know, it's just doing something weird to my spirit. Um, I know I don't like the one. I don't like that track with where he's talking about the woman's um, sexual organ. You know, all his tracks got them long titles. Yeah, something. I don't know. I said I'm gonna listen to it again to see if this. I was in the mood, so I wasn't trying to feel it. When I first listened to it, I did like it, but the more I hear it, I don't know, it just touched my spirit interestingly. But it touches other people's spirit very good. So, you also gonna see us take some Hoppe. Um, oh yeah. And she chose. I know that's probably hard to see, and that is a Keurig, the pipe that I use. But she chose Tsunami Bullet, and that is one of the strongest Hoppes you can get. Again, Hoppe is a ceremonial tobacco mixed with other plant botanical stuff like rose hips and things like that, and it's supposed to create mental clarity, and it definitely does do that. She is actually on the live, so she said it's not just you. I don't. Oh, word. Okay. No, she's saying she don't vibe with that album either. I don't know what's going on with it. And I guess it ain't supposed to be at a healing frequency or something like that. It ain't at. Let me tell you something. If they tell you that album is at 432, they're gonna have to prove that to me because it does not hit me like any 432 hertz song, whether it's gospel, well, I don't care what, it just doesn't hit my spirit like 432. So 432 is supposed to be a healing frequency. And you'd be amazed how many songs are actually recorded at that frequency. And trust me, different frequencies can do different things to your spirit. So you see, she took the Hoppe. For the most part, it does burn a little bit, but mostly it'll just make you sneeze and cough. And I guess it depends on how open you are. You do got to do it in both nostrils real quick. Um, but I told you, for me, as I wipe my tears like she doing right now, they became real tears, and I was in there crying like a baby when I took my first ceremonial dose. And I told you, the other people in my classroom, some people had to scream, some people cried, some people danced. How you purge, how it allows you, helps you to release emotion, it varies. And yeah, but it's not a drug. You won't fail no drug test. This is another perfect example. People are funny about their feet. And one thing I like to do, if the person is with it, she said she was coming to get some healing. So I like to do a foot washing ceremony because it actually does show me. For me, it's a humbling thing. It's the same reason why they wash Jesus' feet. All those things. It's the same reason why. It's a humbling spirit. It's showing that I humble myself to you, and hopefully you can humble yourself to me. It's an exchange. It's me showing some sort of submission, for lack of better words. But and it's a opportunity for me to set intention. So and try to connect. Yeah, I'm not going to try to talk through the whole thing because we get to the point. And I didn't record her whole session because at some point people do need a certain level of privacy. And if she got to a point where she wanted to cry, and I wanted her to be able to do that and not be recorded, you know what I mean? And she definitely did get to that point, but it ain't on tape. The effects of Hoppe aren't as intense as I expected. Definitely stung a bit. So that's what she said. They stings a little bit. Now it's another plant med. Now I can't even remember what Sanaga is made out of. Now, as much as Hoppe is weird to take through your nose, Sanaga is eye drops. And let me tell you something. If somebody offers you Sanaga, if you feeling courageous, take it because it does give visual clarity. It doesn't do any like it doesn't it won't adversely affect your eyes. You know what I mean? But the toughest part about that is, man, that it's an eye drop. So you drop it in your eye. So you got to wrap your mind around taking it in your eye. And then man, it burns. I'm not even finna lie to you, man. Listen, that first drop I got, I thought I was gonna go blind. I was scared. I was like, man, listen, they got me in here doing some crazy stuff, and I'm about to lose my eyesight. But no, you don't go blind at all. It does. As a matter of fact, they say regular use of Sanaga can help improve your vision. So if you wear glasses, uh, I don't know how well that is. I mean, how true that is. I haven't done my own research, but that's what they say. So tell you, do your research. Again, if you're just coming in, you're seeing a foot washing ceremony. Yeah, it's a humbling experience. Exchange of energies and showing established intentions. Do, do. Is the music too loud? Oh, can you even hear the music? I told you I can't hear the music. I used to be able to hear the music, but I can't. I just want to make sure it's something playing while we have these moments. All I'm doing now is drying the feet off. But it's wild for me. Oh, you don't hear the music? Oh, so it's just thanks. So it's just silence when I'm not talking. How about now? Do. How's about now? Oh, I'm not playing it. How about that? Now it's playing. Can you hear the music now? Interesting. So finish the foot washing and the Reiki actually is beginning. I generally go by and touch the energy points, the sacrals again. So it's your crown, your solar plexus, your um sacral, your root. That's where I'm at now, and your throat, and your third eye, and your heart. So, and I generally start with the feet and your root chakra. And normally, I generally start telling that their energy is moving when I touch their feet, cause like a finger or twitch or something weird like that. And at some point, you'll probably see some of it, and it's hard to explain um what it feels like. So she would probably have to explain, but it definitely is like I'm touching your elbow and your toe twitching. So it's like when you get that reflex text at the doctor and they hit your knee and you foot do something. It's a wild experience. It's not a lot of pressure at all. Sometimes I do apply a little bit of pressure, but the art of Reiki is more about gentle touching. As a matter of fact, you can see sometimes when the energy is moving through her because her breathing will definitely change. And as I move to her um, I mean her sacral area, you'll start seeing her toes twitch or things like that. And I didn't even notice that during the session myself. It's a wild thing because when I'm doing this, I get feelings, and like I told you, it's all intuition for me. And a lot of people carry pain, um, anger, and hurt in their knee, man, in their knees. You know what I mean? So I'm sure a lot of people have knee problems because that's where it'll show up. And I know, and not to necessarily put her business in the street, but as soon as I touched her knee, I knew the first issue that she had to deal with. And one of the issues was anger. And it was wild because the right side of her body needed a little more attention. And when you do the research, the right side of your body is supposed to be the masculine side, and the left side is supposed to be the feminine side. So throughout the session, her right side needed a little more work. So I knew then there were feelings, thoughts, ideas about men and interactions with men that need to be addressed or even spoken. So now on the solar plexus, spend a little time on the side. Like I told you, her right side needs a little work, for a lack of better words. But again, I know it's dark. She all in all black, but I got a light there, and it's changing colors. So that's why it does look like it's probably changing colors, because it is. The light's changing colors, and a lot of people carry pain in their stomach. So I know a lot of people walking around with gas and all types of stomach issues. But the wild thing for me, when they carry the pain and the hurt and all that stuff in the stomach, it's a little easier to get out. Um, yeah, just a little easier to get out. So I generally try to bring it up and out through through the mouth, and that's when people start crying because they feel that energy coming up and out, and then they cry. So now I got it on her solar plexus and her heart. Like I said, it's all appropriate touching, and it's also hands on or hands off. I can do all this stuff without actually touching you. You know what I mean? But depending on honestly, depending on how guarded or how deep your pain is, I may suggest touching. the more I worked on, okay, so she was like, she's like I said, she's in the chat and she's explaining some of what she felt. There's no pressure, gentle touches. The more I worked, um, the more pronounced the areas that needed attention began radiating. Definitely. So basically, what that means is, as I worked, it became a little clearer. Like, okay, so you don't got to do the whole body because I think I need to, my heart having a problem or something like that. And the good thing about it is her heart really wasn't having that much problem. It was really in her knees and her hips, and she got to get out her head. And she said it herself, it was her knees, her sacral, and her throat. So with a sacral, I had to do her hips for her sacral, which is actually good because being honest, when I deal with people, as a matter of fact, when I'm working on the sacral, a lot of times the energy that winds up showing up that I mentioned before is sexual assault. You know what I mean? And that's when I have to do the front of the sacral, but I never touch. I just hover, because people have to get that energy out. And generally, when I hover, it allows them. We wind up having to stop and have a discussion and talk about it, so they can release a little more. And sometimes being able to speak on it is released at first. You putting those words in the ethers, and I actually looked up the ether so I could make sure I could tell people the correct meaning. And ether is just atmosphere, the air. Sound waves travel through air. Energy travels through air as well. So for her, yes, she needs a little throat work, and for the most part, that's because communication. So it's a lot of things that she probably thinking about, a lot of things she's experiencing, and she's not really fully communicating it the way she needs to. See, them feet got crippled. I told you. At certain points, you start just feeling the energy move differently through your body. And sometimes it's in people's elbows and things of that nature. So I try to work it out through their hands. Some people come out of hands. Um, at this point, it's still the beginning. I'm trying to see where the energy she needs to release will come out. Because it can come out your feet, it can come out your hands, it can come out your mouth, it can come out the top of your head. So I'm trying to gauge what needs to be worked on and how and what parts of the area, what parts of the body I can get that energy out. Again, for me, like I said, it's all intuition. So um, sometimes if I get, like, if my intuition tells me what the issue is, then I'll tell you. Like, I had another Reiki session later last week, and when I was doing them, I had to talk to them a lot. Well, not a lot because I've talked to some people more, but they needed to hear some things and forgiveness of themselves and some of their family and all of those things came out. But in this session, that wasn't necessarily the case. It was just about her being able to release some of that energy and let go. So now I can tell her hip, like she said, her sacral needed a lot of work. So it was easier for me to get it through her hip because that's where it was residing more than anything else. And it would slide up into her solar plexus, but on her kidney side, though. What you seeing there, I'm just, as a matter of fact, I don't know what to call that, but it's like me sweeping the energy and gathering it so I can get it into like a ball. And if I can get it into a ball, I can move it around. So it's weird. It's weird. And you actually do feel the energy moving into a ball and me moving it around. So it's a wild experience. even though she feel it again, because if you seen her feet twitched one more time, and it's wild for the person on the table because it really does feel like someone else has control over your body. That was a sign that I knew her side needed more help too. Because before the video went off, she went back to her sacral as well, but right there between sacral and solar plexus. So that was a sign that I know it needed a little more work. All right, so that was the what a Reiki session for the most part looks like. I know probably show more videos of spiritual journeys and things of that, or at least clips of spiritual journeys. I don't ever. That was the first real Reiki session that I've always shown. I've always cut them off before then. So I'm thankful that she gave the green light for us to be able to share this, so I can actually show people what it's like. Because again, my intention is to remove the mysticism from this stuff, because it's not mystic; it's scientific. Um, yeah, surprise. Like, so one of the things Liberty said, she definitely needed to get out of her own head. Even in that moment, she had to do some breath work to remain present. Definitely, and I remind you a lot of times. I can see when people are their breath is like they're getting caught up, and the energy is overwhelming, and they're forgetting their breath. Who was Rashida Beeman? Oh, you tagged somebody? Okay. I've listened. It just looks like words to me. So tell them to watch the last 30 minutes of the live, and they can see what the Reiki entails. Yeah. And actually that was an edited version, so it's more of that. The Reiki itself is an hour, at least an hour, because I do front and back. Okay, cool bean. That's what I thought. So it takes an hour because I do front and back. I have a tribe that I work with, so if it's ever a situation where we need group sessions, I can do group sessions, all types of things. So, but it's that, and you can get more because, like I said, it's also Sanaga, which can be added to that, and then the spiritual journeys can be added to that. In these sessions, I can actually do a reading, like where I do the stones. That's added to that, and most of the time, it's actually just processing and allowing people to connect to the child. So I'll have games and like a microphone, so you can do karaoke, and that's why I had the wave instrument, so you can do something like that. The pool is there, things like that. That's if I allow you to come here. Most people, I come to you, you know what I mean? But if I know you and I'm comfortable, I don't mind bringing you here. All right. So again, I thank you for supporting me, and Liberty thanks me for helping her release Held Back for Years. Yeah. Like I say, sometimes you need a little help, and sometimes someone else has the exact energy that you need to be able to get you over that hump, so you could release. You know what I mean? And I'm glad that I take my healing serious, and I take this process serious, so that I can help other people, so we all can be the best version of ourselves that we want to be. You know what I mean? And if I have the tools to be able to help that, I'm gonna put them out there. So again, since we don't have a live reading, this one of the shortest. Well, not one of the shortest. I've been keeping them about an hour. That's what I wanted to do anyway. Hey, share it. I don't know if you missed it, but I got the job. So thank you. Sherry gave me a a review. I mean a reference. And the one I cried in the interview, Patrice. I don't know when you joined, but I know you asked about a purge session. If you watch, like, get to the 30-minute, 35-minute mark, 40-minute mark, the video I showed is, for the most part, what a purge session is like. Because Reiki is just Reiki. You don't got to take Hape, none of that stuff. Reiki is just the music and what's the name. So most people don't take Hape. that actually was more than a Reiki session. It was a purge session. So she took Hoppe to help her with the purge. Thanks, Sherry. So, we're going to all drinks on you when we celebrate. Boop, 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 boop. Now I'm ready to fly and get up out of here. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. All drinks on you, everybody. Woo, when we celebrate. Yeah. So thanks, Sherry, for your support too. And I ain't gonna say when I'm start, but I'll text you and let you know when I start. Okay, good. Good, Patty Cake. What is what? Hape. Hape is a ceremonial tobacco. So it is a tobacco. And they mix other ingredients, natural ingredients like rose hip and stuff like that in there, and they grind it down to a powder. So that's the weirdest thing about it, that it's a powder. And the other weird thing about it is you got to take it through your nose. But it's supposed to provide mental clarity and calms your emotions and things like that. And it definitely, in my mind, I guess is one of them things, belief gives it power. But in my mind, it does work. And I've seen it work on people who thought it wasn't going to work. So if you know you got a lot of pent up tears and things like that, you better at holding back your tears. So you definitely need some support or some help to help you release those tears. You know what I mean? And I probably known Libby, woo, Jesus Christ, I ain't even gonna say, but it's a long time. And she probably stopped crying the day I met her. So she ain't crying no more. So she definitely needed I'll say this, it's been at least 10 years. I probably met her 10 years ago, at least 15 years, even longer. Put my business in the street. 15 years. And when I met her, she was going through some instant family situations. As a matter of fact, because 50 years ago when I met her mom had just passed. So she was going through that. You know how that transition can make you got to be strong for the family. So honestly, when you go through experience like that, you don't always have time for tears. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, you just pack them away and just learn to live with them. And sometimes it's just better to let them go. Find systems or find people who can help you release those tears so you can get your life back and feel spiritually lighter. All right. So thanks again. I'll see you Thursday for the reading. I don't know what chapter we're on now, but it's probably like chapter 15. I don't know. And I'll see you next week for another live. Thanks for supporting me and enjoy the rest of your week. Motto for the week: be nice to yourself. And I hope y'all enjoyed my bow tie, even though it was crooked half the time. Have a great night, people.